So, hello everyone, and welcome to this is the first live stream that I have hosted. I am one of the editors, Russell Nohelty, of the 10K Secrets book, of which both Yari and Claudia have chapters in, and we are here to talk about this very cool book that you can get for free at 10ksecrets.substack.com, which is basically 14 successful creators talking about uh, a strategy, a single strategy, and how to implement it that they use to make $10,000 a month. How did I do, Yari?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially this session with Claudia Faith today. Claudia, you're from the Wonder Wealth publication on Substack, and you wrote a really good book chapter about storytelling. Now, I myself, I don't know a lot about storytelling, so I do have a few questions for you for this session. So I'm excited to get started. What about you, Claudia?
Yes, me too. I'm so excited to talk with you guys. Also, I find it always funny that none of us have ever talked, and then kind of getting to know each other like in a live setting. It's fun. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't. My role was basically I can make a book that's really looks good and people want to read. And then I went to Yari and Sinem and Philip and was like, can you just contact a bunch of your cool business righty friends and like fill the book with them? And they were like, I can do that. And so I have not read almost. I do not recognize most of the humans that are in the book, so I was able to read all of these for the first time and be like, wow, there's at least 8 of these other strategies that I should probably be doing that I'm not doing right now. So do you want to introduce your chapter, Claudia, and then we can talk?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for the book, I was kind of thinking back on my Substack story, on my Substack journey so far. I'm happy to share a bit more later on that. But basically, I looked back and said, like, what is the one thing that I really think made a difference for me in this kind of up and down journey? And it all came down to, storytelling. And I mean, upfront, I haven't studied storytelling in a professional way. I think there are people who know more the ins and outs about it on a professional level, but I can share storytelling more in my way. And that really helped, like figure things out for me on Substack. And that's essentially what I wrote about.
Awesome.
Yeah, so yeah.
Before we do questions, one more time, I just want to say you can get this book for free, completely free, until May 5th at 10ksecrets.substack.com. All 3 of us have chapters, and there's 11 more chapters. Sorry, I just want to make I need to say that as many times as I can on this live stream.
Of course, I mean, time flies by fast, so before you know it is May 5th, so I would not procrastinate on this. Exactly. Well, Claudia, in your book chapter, you mentioned that when you started writing on Substack, it felt like there was silence and like pretty much zero engagement. But the moment you focused more on storytelling, that was really like the turning point for you in Substack. Can you share a little bit why you think storytelling was like the key to growth for you on Substack?
Yeah. I mean, very good question. I think for me it changed because I mean a little bit on the backstory, but I started really from zero. So it was the beginning of kind of my online journey. So I didn't have really any other email list or anything lying around. So I started on Substack also on like from zero. And in the beginning, what you do is you kind of look what other people are doing, and that's essentially what I did. And the first 3 months, it was me heavily looking into what other people write, trying to kind of copy it, but finding my own way around. And I mean, that paired with just overall in the beginning, it's tough to find your audience in general, but not being 100% like sharing my stories, but just like trying to share other stories. I think that's where I struggled with. And essentially, I found out that the more I share of myself, of my experience, my really ups and downs, and pack that into something that excites people, that's where I found like, okay, this is interesting. This is something that can hook people and and essentially subscribe to me.
Mm-hmm. I think especially in the age of AI, right, where you can just feed ChatGPT in like, I want this article's information, like having that storytelling and that personal message in there is really what separates it from just generic AI content, for example.
Yeah, 100%. And then I think what you can learn though, so it's not only about like, okay, this is like my experience, my story, my emotions, and so on, but then packing it into kind of the structure or format that, you know, like real authors and writers actually do and know about, but really starting with a hook, getting people excited for it, you know, bringing on your problem, even your protagonist or your story, you know, like everything around that. And that's something that you can learn. And I think if you master that skill and you convey it to people, that it brings more people to trust you, to believe you, and actually get excited to read your things.
Yeah, can you actually talk a little bit about that? Because you mentioned that storytelling has different components, different ingredients. What are some of those essential ingredients to storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, Russell, feel free to jump on whenever you want. But I mean, essentially, what I start with is usually I think about like kind of the hook, the first line, right? Like kind of things. What is shocking, exciting, questionable? What is something that really you get people's attention right away? And then you want to somewhat set the scene, so let people know, and very specific, let people know where you're at. In my case, where I was at in my journey, what I've kind of overcome or didn't overcome yet. So really letting people into kind of the setting mood. And then really jumping next into your problem statement. You know, what is things that either you or also for all the fiction writers then out there, you know, what are things that you yourself or your protagonist want to overcome, so kind of like the problem setting. And then, you know, you again run them through the ups and downs of it. You get to kind of like the maximum excitement point within your story. And then in my case, usually I always end with a takeaway or something that people can really learn from it, take from it in terms of valuable information. And I'm not structuring every post I have for that, because for some it just also doesn't make sense. But I experimented with this last year so much, and it was so fun to also find out what works for me and my audience and what doesn't. But yeah, Russell, I don't know if you have something to add to that, or what's your experience with it?
Yeah, I would say, well, first I would say if anyone else has questions, like put them in the comments. I believe we can like scroll through comments. I don't do this that often. I'm just trying, but like we're gonna see. I've seen other people scroll through comments, and I've seen Philip scroll through comments, and then you can get a copy of this book at 10ksecrets.substack.com. I would say that the biggest thing that a nonfiction, well, really any author, anyone trying to write effectively, is to understand that like it is not about you at all. Like it is about you being the conduit for someone else's transformation. And like the better that you can, so storytelling is the best way to do that, because that is how somebody, like, fiction builds empathy and stories build empathy. And so that's why you see most of the time, like a book chapter starts with a case study and then goes to tactics and then kind of like comes back to the second half of this. Like that is the process to do that. But what like we're really trying to do, if you want to be super persuasive, is like, how can I incept the opportunity into someone's head and then give them the process for that? So those are the two kind of elements that I am looking for. Like I think of recipes like a really good example, because like you could just have a recipe. The recipe is the process, but like all great cookbooks and food writers, it's story about how they did, story about like trying to get that like to get you to feel like you want to do it, and then you have this kind of boring rote process of the recipe. But you can't do that until someone has like been incepted with the idea to make what you're trying to show them.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
And also I think I think it's so important, again, like to mention that storytelling can really transform your newsletter also. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's your book or a newsletter or even a note, you know, storytelling comes into all of it. And I mean, I see a lot of people out there, they write their newsletters without any kind of storytelling in it, you know, and it's really mostly like bullet points of their, you know, just an example, but bullet points kind of their thoughts, and then maybe they even give it a title, but then just to give it another bullet point. And I see so many out there, and then I try to tell them, try to pack it in a story, try to make it your own, like find really this exciting points for people to follow on. And I feel like still a lot of people struggle with this, because it's also a process you need to learn, no?
Yeah, and there's also a process for like how to get someone to read to the end. I know that a lot of people are like, don't write more than 800 words. And I'm like, well, I don't know, you could be a better writer. And like you can get someone to read 100,000 words. Like if that wasn't possible, there would be no books. If people did not ever want to read a longer piece, they would not make books anymore. And so like just by that note, like there is a process that you go through that like gets you to make hookier chapter endings to like get to make people read the next part and then to continue on. And I think about this a lot with books, because there's this perception in books that the perfect series is 6 books long in fiction. It's 3 books. Because then you can make a 3-book chapter, a 3-book box set, a 3-book box set, and a 6-book box set, and usually in a series, people stop reading at book 7. There's like a huge downward trend. But like, then why are there 30-book series? And it's because like, yes, somebody can only probably take very banal, like process talking for 800 words. I can't even last 800 words. But like when you like hook it to story and you keep people weaving between each section, then like they will read forever. And I witness literally every book that's ever been written in evidence.
Yeah. So I have a question, right? Because the book that we created is called 10K Secrets, right? So it's a lot about monetization strategies. How, and this question is to the both of you, how do you use storytelling to actually like sell more or make more money, right? So how do you use storytelling to sell your digital products or coaching or get more paid subscribers? Maybe starting with you, Claudia.
Yeah, I mean, in the end of the chapter, I kind of try to wrap it up again, because the book is about, you know, like 10K a month and building it up to that. But I really think storytelling is the core of everything. I mean, it really is the core to create this credibility and trust with your audience. It gets people to open your newsletter, to read till the end, like what Russell said. So in the end, it's all about this initial stage you need to have in place in order then to transform and, you know, convert people to actually paid subscribers or buying something from you. And again, because also you said that, Yari, in the beginning, like with AI conquering the world, it's more important even that you have this trust between as humans, you know, that you actually can trust that somebody has created or written something on their own. So I think storytelling just helps you with this basic really setup. That's my thinking around it.
I like what you said with trust, right? Because trust is essential for selling. And when you do storytelling, and especially your own stories, and people feel like they know you, right? And you're vulnerable, you share really your own experiences, now you have trust. So it's no longer like wrestling into the sale, but you've built that underlying trust in general. So whenever you have an offer, people they trust you. And so they're more likely to buy something from you. What about you, Russell?
But then on the other hand, like people are uniquely bad at showing the things that people need to hear to buy the thing that you are selling. And the most important thing for selling is, how is this going to affect my life positively? Like without taking a ton of time or making me learn a bunch of like ridiculous stuff that I don't want to learn. And so I often, when I consult with people about like their sales or their offer or their launch, I always ask them like, what is the story you're trying to, like, what is the case you're building? Like the case, it's not like sell this product, or like I want to sell this product, like obviously, but it's like, what are the components of that process that allow people to keep reading the story that you're telling and make a decision? So every single email that you're sending, if you have like a month-long process, is another chance to build the case for like how this is going to be transformative for them. And people wonder like how I send daily emails, like when I do a launch. Like right now I have this book on Kickstarter called How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia, and I'm sending basically across 50 days like 50 emails, and or not exactly 50 emails, but at least 30 emails. And like each one of them is built to tell another part of this story. And people will read the story. Like people, I am shocked that everyone does not unsubscribe from all of my emails, or people respond to them, because so many of them are about like selling a product or selling a service or selling a conference or something. But like every time I take it as an opportunity to like move the angle, and every time you move the angle, you allow for a different kind of person to see themselves transformed by it. And so the problem so many people make is they just say, buy my Substack, it's 25% off, it's 25% off, it's 50. And that's the only case that they ever make. And sure, will that get some people? Absolutely. Like some people will be like, but it's a very small percentage of people, and like that are motivated by price. Way more people are motivated by hassle, or like going deeper, or like feeling something inside of them, or like I don't know, there's like 1,000 different psychological triggers, and like a story is the only way you can really hit like 98% of the psychological triggers available to you.
Yeah. And just to build on that a bit, I think on Substack, or at least in my audience, I see a lot of people who are actually first-time creators, or like, people who are also new to this world and kind of are in the process of creating their first digital products and so on. And oftentimes, this digital product that they create has some kind of meaning to them. It's like often I see like that's something that they've studied for years, they've experienced for years. I mean, I have a lot of healthcare people in my audience, so people who have been like nurses, doctors for 10, 20 years, and my God, those people have stories to tell, and they put this in a digital product, and it means something to them. And then, as you said, Russell, instead of just saying like, hey, go ahead and buy my product, really just tell your story and tell people why this is meaningful to you and it will be valuable to other people. So yeah, I think storytelling in terms of that just helps you a lot with growing your business.
That's actually a really interesting point, Claudia, because when I look at my previous business, which was productivity business, and I had a bunch of productivity courses, but the best-selling course was on how to conquer procrastination. And that actually came from the fact that I was like a chronic procrastinator myself, and it was a genuine like problem in my life. So I was way more, I probably shared my story a lot more promoting that course, and it felt very natural compared to some of the time management courses I also created. So I never really thought of it in that way, but sharing any offer that you have from this personal place and sharing your personal story behind it can be very powerful in that sense.
Yeah, and I always ask people like, why did they make this thing? Because this is the like most people can tell you the what, the where, the how, and whatever the other ones are. But like almost everyone, no matter the platform, fails at why. They fail at being able to say why this is important. And so I'm like, why did you make this? And they're like, well, because it was there. And I'm like, no. Like, why? This product, you could have made an infinite number of products. You could have written an infinite number of books. Like, why is this the book that you made? And it is like pulling teeth to get people to like some people are like, I'm out of it. Like it's like, why are you being so aggressive? I'm like, because you're not answering the question. Like if you can't answer the question of like why this product then there is zero chance that anyone else will be able to look at that product and say, yes, I want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That actually ties with the next question I have, and this is a question I'm asking you two because I'm definitely not the best storyteller at all. Writers, they talk a lot about writer's block, but what about storytelling block? When I write an article, for example, I sometimes have difficulty coming up with the personal story around the information that I'm actually sharing. Do you have any tips on how to overcome storytelling block, if that is even is a real thing?
I mean, I think that it is a real thing. But I think that, okay, so I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. And so I always think about like, after when she made Folklore, she said something to the tune of like, I realized I could write stories about other people. And you're like, well, yeah, like sure, you have to write stories about other people because like you only have so much experience. But like once you have the but like she basically honed her career on like her own stories and figured out what the transformations were that worked the best for their audience. But once you do that, like you can tell a story about other people. Like there is but like if you made something, you almost assuredly made it for somebody else as well as yourself. So and like usually if you can find one other person who has one other instance where like they can be helped, you can find 1,000. And so like the question is not like why only like to go back to the why did you make this product? It's like but like why did you really make this product? Like it doesn't if it doesn't have to exist, it shouldn't exist. And if it has to exist, it was made to solve a problem for somebody, and like name that person and then name another person, and then like you can just do this thing like consistently of saying like who am I writing this for? And if you cannot think of someone randomly, you can like actually go to your existing group of friends and be like, well, which of your friends should buy this and why? Like what and like that by itself tells like you actually have an infinite number of stories. The problem is that we are all so self-focused that like we think that the only stories that are valid or important are the ones that happened to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're saying it's not always about telling your own story in that sense, but highlighting the story of other people, right? Maybe some of your clients, some of the people you've worked with, or anyone else in your life, like highlight their story in relation to what you're writing or what you're creating.
And like you are not the protagonist of your story. Like the saddest and happiest thing you can learn as a writer is it has nothing to do with you. If someone loves your story, it has nothing to do with your story. It has to do with how your story made them feel and positively impacted. If they are not interested in your story, it is not about you. It's because you were not the right conduit. And so all we are trying to do in this world, and as we're connecting with people, is find people where we are the right conduit for their transformation. And like the more we can embody, and if that is true, then we just have to find the right conduits for this transformation to like act as avatars on top of us.
Mm-hmm. I would add also, because you asked about storytelling block as a reference to having a writer's block. I think for what I see is it really first starts with awareness. I feel like a lot of people are not aware that, you can't pack everything in a story, and I think that's the first mental block that you kind of have to overcome and be like, hey, okay, I have this storytelling process on my mind. And then there are just also like structures you can go through that would help you, which I, by the way, write about in the chapter in the book, which you can get for free. So I think that's just the first thing, awareness, and then you have to have some kind of structure in place to help you set your story. By the way, we do have a question, and we have Derek waiting already for a long time. Do you mind if I read it out?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Derek said, I'd be so curious to hear how you each think about balancing editorial content with marketing content. and where it fits in your approach on Substack or off platform. So
those are just the comment to let Claudia speak. So like I'm gonna let you take this one.
Dave said let Claudia speak. So
yeah, I mean, okay. So the question is balancing editorial content with marketing content. I think for me personally, this is also it was a trial and error process. I mean, you know, kind of your audience best. What I do is, I mean, there's always some kind of marketing content into it, if you will, if you just even put like a CTA or a button in whatever post or newsletter you write off. I can only speak about Substack because that's my main experience. And I think what you can do, and Substack is actually a good platform for this, is you can put most of your editorial content or your valuable content, if you will, on your blog post and kind of on your homepage on Substack. And then what you can do in terms of like marketing, you can send out promotional emails that are not stuck on the publication on your Substack, right? At least this is what I do a lot, because I don't want people to come to my publication and see what I write about and then only find marketing. I mean, that's not a great sales. So you kind of want to balance it maybe with having valuable information with like small buttons and CTAs on your publication homepage, and then maybe writing more promotional marketing emails that are not stuck as posts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to think about your newsletter game or your email game in two components. Like one is your newsletter and the other is your mailing list. And like the mailing list is promotional content that has no value on its own. What I mean is like you can't pull that content and be like, oh, this is a satisfying experience. And your newsletter content is the content that is like value based, like it can live, it can become a book chapter, it can become a thing. And so like I think that but like that being said, like I think that there is an overlap between them. Like your editorial content is building a case, like for something, like whether it's an upcoming book, whether it's to join the page, like everything you're doing is like to further some goal. Otherwise, it would stay in your head. Like people always say, like I don't care about who reads my work or being notarized, and I always say, like, well, why is your name there then? Like, why is your name on the Substack? Like, why is it on the book? Like, why is it out there? It doesn't have to be. Why are you sharing it at all if like you don't want anyone else to be affected by that? So if we're able to like get past that idea that like, well, I am a little vain, just a little bit, because like I want people to read this and tell me how much they love me, then like we can start saying like all of this is in service to some aim. Editorial content may be a longer term aim, or it may be building to a bigger case, or maybe building to a book, and then the marketing content fleshes out the people who are willing to buy that product. But I think it will be naive to say like there is a complete, and like in the same way the marketing content like builds a case for the publication as well, for the editorial content. Hey, remember this article, remember this thing, remember this other thing that we did, remember this cool thing that we did, go read this article. Like all of that stuff is in service of the editorial content. So but if you really like, I think you should make one editorial, pure post editorial of like value based a week. And it should like, and then you can send upwards of one email a day, up to one email a day of marketing to people, as long as it is fixating on a different angle. Because most people, you can't say buy my book 6 days in a row, but you can do a launch that has like different angles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can also be really interesting to see in how can you make your marketing message. And of course, you're always going to have your emails that are more sales driven, but how can you make your marketing message like weave in storytelling there as well? So even if you don't buy, and even if you're not interested in the offer, you still got value from the post or from the story, right? It made you feel some sort of emotion. So it doesn't even always have to be like black and white. Okay, this is free value and this is marketing. Sometimes the best marketing is a story. And I think, Claudia, that is what you are all about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Actually, the other day, also somebody asked me to help them kind of just brainstorm a bit of ideas around their digital product launch. And it's just, that's why I also said it really comes down to just reminding people that they have stories to tell, because often it's like that's like also what Russell said before. It's so like divided between this is my marketing pitch and then this is what I'm all about, or, the value I deliver. And it has to be somehow this balance of both, or this intersection between both. Because in the end, you're gonna be more successful if you actually make it about your story that you want to share. So that was my advice to this person, and she actually was very successful now with her launch because she didn't do a sales pitch, but she told her story.
Yeah, and I think you should not send an email if it does not have a story or further your. So like, I totally agree with you, Claudia. Is like if you cannot, whether it's a marketing email or a value-based email, like nothing should go out of your out on your publication unless there is some sort of story, not necessarily that you are telling, but that you are trying to get to get somebody else to be the conduit for. So sometimes that doesn't mean you're telling like a John woke up in the morning, John did X, John did Y. You are saying you are not using like a character, but like the thread of the email is meant to make the person who is reading it have that aha moment in whatever angle you're trying to deliver that day.
Yeah. I have one last question for both of you. Let's say someone joined into this live stream, they listen to all of this. Tomorrow they will write their next Substack post and they want to incorporate storytelling in it. What is one tip, like one actionable tip, you would give someone to practice this, like, or get started with storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what kind of story, obviously, but what I would start with, and most of my audience, they write about like more less fiction, but more like about themselves and how to things, etc. And there I would really say start with kind of you as a base. Think about your personal experience, turn this into a story. Think about your highs and lows, or really like even a relatable problem that you might have, just like Yari was what you said before. I think that would be my recommendation of a starting point, because I said before, really everybody has a story to tell. You just kind of need to know where to start.
Yeah, and I would say that what I would tell somebody is think of what action you want them to take at the end of what singular one action, because like a lot of these Substack posts are so chaotically like do 26 things, and like whether it's marketing or value, you are trying to get them to perform an action at the end of it. It could be, oh, I need to go to 10ksecrets.substack.com and like buy and like sign up and get this free book. It could be like, I want you to go and create a will or like lose 10 pounds or like, but like what singular action are you trying to get them to do? And then what other human being that has had that thing happen to them in that way? And then just like tell that, like lead those two things together as Bob did this, then Jill did this, then this happened, and this is why we're telling this story right now. And if you can, and then you can say, like, here are the 5 steps that like Jill took, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but like you want to start that first like meaty section of your thing, or your sales email. It doesn't really matter. Like it's really the same process, like the singular one action. And you should never, after this moment, write anything where you are trying to make someone do more than one action, because they just will not do that action and people will not think that it's clear. And if you can get someone to do that one, just say one action, then you can, this is why you plan a content calendar, right? Because it's like, okay, I'm not trying to get them to do this one element. Next, and it's instead of trying to do them all in one in one post, now that same thing, you're pulling out into like 10, 15 different things that you can do. And suddenly, like, that one post is the next month of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, Russell, what is one thing people should do based on this live stream?
Oh, so find find the one action that you're trying to get someone to do, and then one person who's gone through it, and then like just tell their story.
I thought you were gonna say. Go ahead, Claudia. What did you think I was gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, for everybody, one tip to get all of this basically and much more information, you can get the free 10K book, and you're gonna get a chapter about storytelling, but also so much more to set you up for a successful writing business.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you can go to 10ksecrets.substack.com to do that. I dropped the ball on that one for sure. Good catch, everyone. My book is about how to turn your blog. My chapter is about how to turn your blog into a book. So if you are ready to have that go to like make a bigger case, then like that is a great one. Yari, I forget what your one's about, but you can tell them right now.
Yes, my chapter is on how to build and launch your first mini course, and then we have 14 creators in total, like contributing to this book. And what I love about the book is that it's like real monetization strategies from real creators, rather than just like theories on what you're supposed to do. So you can download it completely for free when you subscribe to the 10K Secrets publication here on Substack.
Awesome. Now let's see if I can. Oh, it's a little button that says end. All right, everyone. Say bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thanks, Claudia.